Good afternoon, everybody. So, as it says on the tin, one-piece swimming pools. So, agenda today, a little bit about me, my background, different types of one-piece swimming pools, and then moving on to like the basic steps of installation and how they actually get put in, and then last but not least, some important steps that you need to follow as a pool builder or as a customer. So, a little bit about me. So, I built my first pool at age 9 with my dad. That's me on an excavator. And since then, we started Compass Pools and EV Pools, which is 20 years old last month. And we're now biggest one-piece pool installer in the UK and the biggest domestic pool installer in the UK. We install about 100 pools a year all across the UK, all of the one-piece variety. And by doing that, we've installed approximately 700 pools in the last 20 years. Notable titles: I've been the BISHTA, British and Irish Hot Tub Association chairman, British Swimming Pool Federation president, and I've been board member of ISPE, the Institute of Swimming Pool Engineers, and a fellow of the Institute as well since 2022. And yeah, it's a little bit about me. Swimming pools is my life, and I really enjoy the industry. It's lots of good fun installing pools. So, moving on, types of one-piece pools. So, first up, we've got polyester fiberglass pools. So, if you've ever driven through France, you'll see polyester pools stacked up at the side of the road. They're about the cheapest way that you can build a one-piece pool. It's a layer of gel coat on the top, followed by a layer of polyester on the backside. They do have some inherent risks, which is what's called osmosis, which is where the water can travel through the shell and create a blister over time. But if you want to get into a pool and you want to build a pool for the short term, as cheaply as possible, a polyester pool is the way that you do it. Moving up in the scale, we've got what's called a polypropylene pool. So this is a 6 or 10 mil layer of polypropylene, which is a plastic. They're normally welded together, so they have seams along the joints, and they're fabricated in a factory. They're not inherently strong, so they need a concrete backfill to actually create the strength within them. But you can make any shape or size that you can dream of. But the surface finish on it tends to be flat, looking like a piece of plastic, which is what it is, which is polypropylene. And then kind of move up the notch, we've then got a stainless steel pool. So exactly what it says on the tin. Sheet of stainless steel that's welded together to produce your swimming pool. They can be structurally stable, so you can build a freestanding pool out of stainless steel. You can build them in sections as well. So you can build them in sections off-site and weld them together on-site. Tend to be quite expensive. And there are some risks because chlorine and stainless steel don't always agree with one another, so you have to be quite careful with your water balance. However, if they're carefully maintained, they can last for decades. We then got kind of your traditional fiberglass pool, so kind of stepping up in layers. A pool on the face of it, they can look exactly the same. You can put expensive coping stones around with them, they look exactly the same. But it's what goes into the layers that makes up the cost and the longevity of the actual structure itself. So the more money you put into the raw materials that go into it, the longer it's going to last, the better warranty you're going to have, the more resistance it's going to get with regards to harsh chemicals that you put in it. So the more you pay, the longer it's going to last effectively. And that's kind of as we move up the scale. Right at the top end, we've got our carbon ceramic. So that's what Compass Pools and EV Pools sells. So this has a ceramic layer within it, the purpose of which is to keep the heat in and to prevent osmosis traveling through the shell. And because of that, they have a very long warranty and expected to last a lifetime. Also on the surface of the pool, the surface finish of it, when you look at it, is actually very beautiful. It has metallic flakes in it, and it gives a 3D depth to the actual finish of the pool. So whichever pool you're looking at, I recommend you get a sample of the actual pool shell itself and put them next to each other and make your buying decision based on the sample, the thickness of the material, and the aesthetic quality of it. So, installation process. The installation process of a one-piece pool is fairly similar between the types of pools. We'd normally start with an excavation. So, but before we get to the excavation, we have to work out where we want the finished level of the pool. One of the common mistakes landscapers often make is not getting the finished level of the pool correct, because you want the water that lands from rain around the outside of it to flow away from the swimming pool. Landscapers will often treat the pool as the drain and fall it towards it. If you do that, all the muck and dirt from your patio will end up back in the pool, and your chemical balance will go out every time it rains, and it'll get dirty every time it rains. So first step, make sure you get the finished level of the pool right, and that all the falls fall away from the pool. We then, normally with our type of pool, we'll give you a dig drawing, which is the box that they're effectively digging. And it's important that this is right. So if you will often go to site where the builder's going, oh, I gave you a little bit extra just to be helpful. It's really not helpful, because everything that you dig out has to come back in as concrete. So that would then be an extra cost on the customer of filling it back in with concrete. So the dig size of the drawing, it has to be accurate and given to you perfectly. We've also got to think about ground stability. What's actually in the ground? Is it sand? Is it clay? Is it going to support the weight of the pool? Is there groundwater? So groundwater is the enemy of all swimming pools. Often people will say, oh, you don't want a one-piece pool, they float. And yes, they do float. But also a concrete pool will float out the ground just as easy as any other pool. So you've got to make sure that if there is groundwater around the outside of it, that adequate drainage is put in, so that your pool doesn't become a boat. We then go on to base preparation. Depending on the type of pool, you'll either have a concrete base or a sand and cement screed base, or even gravel. But when this base is set, this is setting the level of the swimming pool. So it has to be to within 7 millimeters, we say, for our pool type, across the whole length and width of the area. So whoever's putting the base in needs a really good laser that can give them a millimeter accurate readout, because once the pool goes in, you can't jack it, you can't adjust it. The base is the finished level. So that's a really important part of it. Then moving on to shell installation. So I talked some one-piece pools can come in multiple sections, some come as one piece. If you can get it in one piece, this is generally the best option, because you've got no joints, risk of leaks, and problems on site. However, if you can't, as I say, some pool types, you can flange them together and join them in multiple pieces. Access. So there's lots of kind of different tips and tricks of ways of getting pools in. You've got to also think about the weight of the pool. So if you want the pool at the end of the garden, you're going to need a very light pool to get it there, or you're going to need space for an excavator to pick the pool up and track it. As Compass and Evie, we also have a special trailer that looks like a very big IFA Williams trailer that we can put the pool on the back of, effectively a 4x4, and track the trailer sideways as well. So there's lots of different ways, and generally whoever you pick as an installer, you need someone who's done it several times before, hopefully 700 plus times, and knows the nuances of squeezing a pool down a country lane. I say to our customers, we are the biggest home delivery company in the country by product size, because you cannot have anything bigger delivered to your house as one piece. So a little anecdote there. So pool's in the ground, sitting on its concrete screed gravel base. We then need to laser it to check that it's level. Once that's done, we'll then normally plumb it up, pressure test it so that we know all the pipes are good, and we'll then move on to the backfill process. Now, with a lot of one-piece pools, the backfill process is, again, a very important step, because the mistakes that you can make is over backfilling it. So as whatever the backfill material is, be it gravel, sand and cement, go back in, you can actually bend the pool inwards. If you have an automatic cover on your pool, if you bend it inwards, it will forever get jammed. So you have to, with our pool type, you lay the backfill in, you don't stand on it, you don't walk on it, you let it go off, as we use sand and cement, which we believe to be the best method. It's also the most expensive method, but you're only doing this once, so don't cheap out on your backfill material. Other companies will use angular stone, gravel, foam concrete as one method, as in you pump a liquid in. But the important thing with any kind of liquid backfill is that the water has to go in the same rate as the backfill, otherwise it will float. So it's quite a risky method using foam concrete unless you've done it several times before. Proper compaction. So most pools have steps in them, and under those steps and ledges you have to pack it. Send someone in to make sure all the voids are filled. It's not the most pleasant job, but if you don't, over time what will happen is the weight of the water on the step will weigh on it and you'll get hairline cracks around the steps. So it's a manual process of packing under all the steps and ledges to make sure that they are, completely solid. We then move on to the finish of the coping stones. So the tolerance of the pool, so you put it in the ground and you've got plus or minus 7 millimeters, which will give you a total tolerance across the pool shell of 15. The way we then put the coping stones on is we have what's called an overlip coping stone that overlips the shell that you can then lay absolutely perfectly level to take that visual 15 mils of tolerance out. And it gives you, flawless finish when it's done. You have to check the slip rating of all your paving that goes around it. R13 is the minimum slip rating you should have around any swimming pool. That's a European standard. It means that you're not going to slip over when your feet are wet. Most pools are used by lots of kids. They'll naturally run around the pool, so slip rating is incredibly important. I spoke earlier about the falls away from the pool, so the patio will then be later falls with drains for all the patio around the outside. And then we stick the actual copings to the coping to the shell using a product similar to CT1, which is a product in the UK. It's a modified polymer, has incredible grab strength between a stone and a fiberglass. And that's how we put the copings on the pool there. So moving on. So last point, mainly for pool builders in the room, is documentation. So over 700 pools, we've honed and refined this documentation process to allow us to communicate with the customer what's going on at each step. If you become an EV installer, we share that with you so that you can help communicate, get your contracts right, get all the paperwork in place, and so that there's no nasty surprises for your customers. A one-piece pool is quite a nice thing to sell because normally you can take them to a pool and they will just get exactly what they've just seen at another customer's property. It's not a bespoke pool in that sense, but they know what they're buying. And proof is in the pudding. I say we're now the biggest pool installer in the UK, and people just like what they see. They understand the product. We're not offering them a vast range of products, but we're offering them something that they can buy and know that it's going to give their family years of enjoyment for years to come. And that's us. You'll find on your chairs there, so we've got a leaflet for EV. We're doing a installer's masterclass at our showroom and production facility in March. So if anybody would like to come and see how we make a pool, get some more instructions of how to put a pool in the ground, you're welcome to come along in March. There's also another bit of consumer research on your chair. This is something where we went out to 2,000 UK homeowners to understand what motivates people buying a swimming pool. and the important things for them, and that was done by an independent company. You're welcome to take that away. That's our gift to the UK pool industry. But thank you very much for listening, everybody. If you've got any questions, I would welcome some questions.
Thanks very much, Alex. I have actually got a couple of questions for you myself.
Excellent.
First one is, you said on the backfill, I just want to be straight on this.
Yeah.
The backfill that you prefer to do is a sand and cement mix. What are we talking about there? A dry lean mix or
Yeah,
what?
so it's 14-1, sharp sand and cement. It's a very weak mix, very small cement content. The cement, a lot of pool companies in America will just use just sand. But the problem with that is if you have a bit of running water, it will actually shift the backfill material. So the sand is there to protect the pipes, protect the shell, and stabilize the ground around it, and to transfer the load of the pool between the pool and the surrounding ground.
Right.
So there's like several purposes to it. Every pool that we've installed has been with sand and cement backfill, lean mix. The difference between lean mix sometimes can have an aggregate in it with sharp stones in it. So you have to be a bit careful. It's not a classic lean mix. It's called cement-bound screed, a lot of companies will call it. It's used for backfilling pipelines and so on and so forth.
Right, okay. The other question I've got for you, you had a slide with the different types of swimming pools on there.
Yep.
One-piece pools. And the first one was a polyester and fiberglass.
Yes.
And then about the third or fourth one was also fiberglass.
Yeah, so
what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so within a fiberglass pool, you can either use pure polyester. It's the cheapest resin you can buy. It's the cheapest way you can make a pool. You then move from polyester to vinyl ester, which is a lot better in terms of its bond strength.
A lot more expensive, I know.
Yeah, like over double the price. But it has innate osmosis resistance, and it has a much higher chemical bond strength between the glass and the resin.
Right.
So again, that cost jump is worth it for the longevity of the pool. And then you'll then add additional layers like the carbon fiber layer, a ceramic layer within that for different properties, again, for longitudinal strength and insulation and osmosis resistance. So when you look at a shell, you're looking for a multi-layer shell that has things like carbon fiber, vinyl ester. It can have polyester in, but we use it just as an outside reinforcement layer on the outside.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on this? No? Okay. I'd just like to say, you've got a stand here, which is just at the back of front of the show, really. What stand number is it?
B2.
B2. And you've got an example of one of your pools on there.
There's a cutaway of a
could be interesting for you guys to go and have a look at later on. Anyway, thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you. Cheers.